Okay, yeah, we want to talk about herbicide selectivity. So herbicide selectivity, the question is what is it? We refer to as herbicide selectivity. So what is it? It is the ability of the herbicide just a moment. Herbicide selectivity what is it? It is the ability of the herbicide to kill weeds, leaving the crops unharmed. So it is the ability of the herbicide to kill weeds, leaving the crops unharmed. Probably the next question is, how does this happen? So we are going to address that question. There are two things or two issues. One, there's something which we call non-physiological processes. And two, physiological processes. This can result in selectivity This can also result in selectivity. Okay. So what we are going to do is to look at the non-physiological processes first. We'll deal with that issue for quite some time. Then later on we'll come and discuss physiological processes. So, non-physiological processes. Well, we shall be looking at post-emergence herbicides. Then soil applied herbicides. Now, we are interested in if we are applying post-emergence herbicides, plant characteristics can determine the response of the plant after herbicide application. So plant characteristics we are looking at leaf orientation. If you take a plant like this, it may have leaves like that. Another plant may have horizontal leaves. So if you have the spray hitting these leaves, here droplets may stay. But here droplets may fall off the plant, which means this plant is likely to keep the herbicide, and it's therefore likely to die compared to this one, which may survive, because this one is losing the herbicide. So the structure of these two plants may determine whether one plant is going to survive or not after herbicide application, and this brings about selectivity. Because one plant may die, the other one may not die. Still on plant characteristics, leaf surface is important. Is it smooth versus rough? Smooth surface will lose droplets, whereas the rough surface will retain droplets. The smooth surface allows the plant to survive. There's also another feature on plant characteristics like leaf hairs, which tend to trap the droplets. But these droplets may not be in contact with the plant, and therefore the droplets may be lost. So the droplets may be lost. The other issues which we may be interested in, this is now number 2, plant age is very important. You've got young plants, old plants. young plants are likely to be susceptible to the herbicides. Young plants susceptible to herbicides. This is the reason why we say that if you are applying post-emergence herbicides, you should target the young weeds, because the old weeds may not die. These are likely to resist the herbicide. So plant age is one factor. Plant characteristics, which I have said, is also another factor. The other factor is the growing point. So growing points now, these growing points may be hidden in grasses. But they could be exposed in broadleaf plants. Now, if the growing points are hidden, it means that the herbicide is not going to reach the meristematic region, and the grasses will be safe. But broadleaf plants with exposed growing points, they could be killed. So you could use the same herbicide on broadleaves as well as grasses. The grasses are going to survive because of hidden growing points. Another issue which we may consider on selectivity could be the application techniques which are done by the farmers. So on these techniques, we may have a use of shields. Where, let's say, this is the nozzle, this is the spray. So we may have a shield this could be the crop So the shield will protect the crops. The herbicide from the nozzle will not reach the crops. So we can fit in the shield to the nozzles. This is the nozzle. So this is the herbicide. So we can deliberately protect the crops from the herbicide by using shields, and we can achieve selectivity. We can also use weed wipers. Now a weed wiper will have something like this. Here you can put herbicide, and at the end here you have got probably cloth which brushes the weeds. Right? Probably this is number 6. We have a formulation. The form in which the herbicide applied. We may apply herbicide as granules. Example is use of propanil in rice. What happens is that when the herbicide is in the form of a granule like a fertilizer, if you broadcast it, it will roll off the rice plants. Once it lands on the ground, the herbicide is released and it is going to kill the weeds. So we can formulate herbicides in such a way that we apply them as granules. For example, the propanil herbicide, which is applied in rice. Of course, in Zimbabwe, we are not using it in that format. But in Asia, where a lot of rice is grown, they use propanil in granulated form. I just want to talk about soil applied herbicides. E.g. metribuzin, or sengo. Here, this is the soil surface. You can call it the weed zone. Weed seeds. Here we've got the soybean seedling. Here we've got germinating weeds. Now, metribuzin can only cover this bit. It cannot reach this point. So when we apply metribuzin pre-emergence in soybean, the soybean is placed at probably 6 centimeters. The weeds are in the 1 to 2 centimeters. It is because of this position of weed seeds. They get into contact with the metribuzin, and when they germinate, they will take the herbicide, and they are likely to die. Whereas soybean, because it is placed at 6 centimeters, it's not likely to get the herbicide. Here we are exploiting what is known as the low solubility. Low solubility of metribuzin. The other herbicide with low solubility is known as pendimethalin. Which can be used in maize. It can also protect the maize, just like metribuzin, and we call this selectivity we call it positional. Or depth protection. Time of herbicide application is important. Here we are thinking of wheat. And MCPA herbicide. in which we should apply this herbicide at 2 to 3 leaf stage. Application beyond this stage will cause phytotoxicity. Application beyond this stage will cause phytotoxicity. So we should put MCPA timely, otherwise our wheat will be damaged. The other issue is on the soybean and the basagran and a post-emergence herbicide. The target should be 3 trifoliate stage. That is when we should apply basagran. Beyond this stage, there will be phytotoxicity. Probably at this stage, I will need to show you some slides concerning non-physiological selectivity. Okay, so let us talk about herbicide selectivity. We said it's the ability of the herbicide to kill some plants, that is weeds, leaving other plants unharmed. plant response to herbicide application. You may have a plant which is susceptible. We say it gives us a positive response, although it's actually plant damage. Some plants may not die. These are tolerant plants, so the response is tolerance or a negative response, no plant damage, but increasing the herbicide dosage, we may have a loss of tolerance. Then resistant, this is the negative response. Sometimes we don't want this one if it occurs in weeds, where you get no plant damage at any herbicide dose. Now, sometimes we can cause some plants through GMOs. We can cause them to be resistant to herbicides, or we can make Roundup selective by killing weeds and not killing maize and soybeans, by doing some sort of genetic engineering. We do have maize with the natural resistance to some of the herbicides like Imazapa, and we are exploiting this situation to control striga in maize. For example, at Simit, they have some maize lines with Imazapa resistance, and we can achieve selectivity by using Imazapa in maize to kill striga, which is quite difficult to control. Here we've got Roundup Red soybean, where Roundup was used to kill weeds. But this was possible because of genetic engineering, making soybean resistant to the Roundup. Again, this was done in maize. This is like forcing selectivity by manipulating the maize plants. Here MCPA was applied to soybean and maize. This is just to demonstrate the selectivity of this MCPA. It can kill all broad-leaved plants, living grasses like maize. So when the herbicide is applied to the plant can access the herbicide via the leaves or via the roots if it reaches the soil. So herbicide effects, the herbicides enter the plants via leaves or roots in order to produce an effect. Herbicides can penetrate the plant barriers or cuticle. Herbicides move via the phloem and the xylem vessels in order to get to the site of action. So how is herbicide selectivity achieved? Like I have said, it can be non-physiological processes or physiological processes. So let us just go through the non-physiological processes which are important in herbicide selectivity. Like I said before, plant spray interception characteristics or plant characteristics. Now, when we apply the herbicide, the droplets will fall on the surface of the plant. Sometimes because the droplets is spherical, it's like a ball, it can easily roll off. But sometimes we put in surfactants so that the droplet is stationary. It cannot easily move, and this can allow the herbicide to enter the plant. We'll talk about this issue. Now, looking at the plant characteristics, here I've got an example of Coniza arabida on the left and Datura stramonium on the right. If you look at the leaves of the Coniza arabida on the left, they are almost upright, whereas those of Datura stramonium are horizontal. They are also large leaves with a capacity to trap a lot of droplets. So leaf orientation and size is important. Upright leaves versus horizontal leaves. So Datura stramonium with the horizontal leaves is likely to trap more herbicide droplets than the Coniza arabida with the almost upright leaves. In this case, we expect Datura stramonia to die due to the herbicide. On this slide, we have got Oxalis latifolia on our left and the Ageratum conzoides to our right. Oxalis latifolia has got smooth leaf surfaces, whereas Ageratum conzoides has got a rough surface, but the leaves of Ageratum could also be orientated almost upright. So if the droplets fall on the Oxalis latifolia with the smooth surfaces, it may retain, or sometimes the droplets may roll off. Whereas on Ageratum, we can trap more droplets, but because of the hairs, maybe the droplets may evaporate without killing these plants. So smooth surface of Oxalis latifolia is likely to trap less herbicide droplets compared to the rough surface of Ageratum conzoides. However, the presence of leaf hairs of Ageratum conzoides could prevent herbicide droplets to be in contact with the plant surfaces. So probably both weeds may survive herbicides. Whereas on Oxalis latifolia, there is no herbicide retention. On the Ageratum conzoides, there is herbicide retention, but the droplets are not in contact with the plant because they are trapped by the hairs, and the droplets will eventually evaporate without the herbicide penetrating the plant. Elucine indica on the left, a grassweed, and Ricardia scabra, a broadleaf weed, on our right. You can see the differences. Now, should we spray, we don't expect erythrin indica to hold a lot of droplets, simply because the leaves are almost upright. The droplets will fall to the ground. Whereas Ricardia scabra is going to trap a lot of droplets. So erythrin indica is likely to trap less herbicide droplets compared to Ricardia scabra. In fact, this could be the basis of bacterial bromoxynil selectivity, in which where we find that broad-leaved weeds will trap more of this herbicide compared to wheat. By the way, bromoxynil or bacterial is used in wheat to kill broad-leaved weeds. Plant age. Now, young erythrin indica on our left versus old erythrin indica on our right. If we spray the herbicide post-emergence, we are likely to kill the young seedlings. It's the same wheat, but different stages. So young weeds are more susceptible to herbicides than mature weeds. Sometimes farmers do face problems when applying these herbicides. They may come too late with the post-emergence herbicides, and they will fail to kill these weeds. Actually, the weeds become resistant, and they may complain saying that the herbicide doesn't work, yet it is wrong timing. Growing points. Now, grasses have got hidden growing points where there's meristematic activity, and that area is not accessible to herbicides because it is the meristematic activity which houses the site of action of these herbicides. The broad-leaved weeds, on the other hand, have got exposed growing points, so herbicides can easily reach these meristematic areas. So if we spray the herbicide post-emergence, we are likely to kill broad-leaved weeds, living grasses. Application techniques. We can use shields to protect our crops from the herbicide effects. For this to work properly, there should be a difference in height between weeds and the crop. Now, if you use that shield, the crop is not going to be harmed. Sometimes you can get away without the shield using special nozzles for directing the spray, targeting the weeds, but this could be risky. We need shields to achieve selectivity. Here we've got a picture with a tractor with nozzles fitted with shields, and the herbicide is being directed in the inter-row spaces to target the weeds. Even if the crop is that short, as long as the shield is protecting the crop, we can easily kill the weeds. So for directed sprays to work, properly. The crop should be taller than the weed. Shields to be used to prevent herbicide to be in contact with the crop. Examples, we can use gramoxone, which is potentially harmful to cotton and maize or sugarcane. We can also use ametrine and glyphosate. But sometimes with the glyphosate, it can be tricky. Even if you use the shields, there's a chance that some fine droplets could fall on the crop, leading to damage. This is a weed wiper. Now, in the handle, this is where you put in your concentrated herbicide, and at the end there's that piece of cloth where you rub the concentrated herbicide on the leaves. So we can say glyphosate is brushed against weeds, and this can be used in conservation farming. Formulation: propanil is applied as granules in rice in Asia. In Zimbabwe, we don't use granulated herbicides. So granules can roll off rice plants to the ground, where they become activated and then subsequently kill weeds. This is positional selectivity or depth protection. In this case, we have got two examples of herbicides. Metribuzin Sengo, that is the trade name. Or we can have pendimethalin or stomp used in maize. If we focus for the soybean situation, we have got on the diagram what we call the herbicide zone. This is where, incidentally, where you find weed seedlings. Because the weed seeds are small, they are found near the surface in the 1 to 2 centimeter zone. And you are planting your soybean at 6 centimeters. So if metribuzin is sprayed pre-emergence, we say it's going to sit, literally sit, on the soil surface. It will hardly move down to 6 centimeters. And this is what we call depth protection or positional selectivity, because it remains in one position. Although the soybean crop will pass through this herbicide zone, the herbicide cannot enter through the stem. It can only enter through the roots. That is how the soybean can survive, or how maize can survive the application of pendimethalin. So soybean and maize are planted at 6 centimeters of soil depth. Most weed seeds are in the 1 to 2 centimeter of soil depth. Sengo metribuzin will be distributed in the 1 to 2 centimeters zone after application in soybeans. Also, stomp pendimethalin in maize. So these two herbicides are suitable for depth protection because of low water solubilities. They can hardly dissolve in water. That's why they cannot be reached to the zone where we find the seeds of the crops. I must say that sometimes we do heavy rainfall. This has happened to Metrobuzin, where leaching sometimes follows heavy rainfall, and it will reach the soybean root zone, and unfortunately the soybean may get killed or they could be damaged. So these things have actually occurred. It can also depend on the genes of that soybean. So different genotypes could respond differently. So you may find that some varieties could be damaged, others may resist. Timing of herbicide application is important. With MCPA, we should apply it at 3-leaf stage. Beyond that stage, you get phytotoxicity, which is in the form of distortion of flower heads. Also, late application of Basagran can adversely affect soybean. Basagran should be applied at the 3-trifoliate stage in soybeans. Now, sometimes we can use glyphosate in a maize crop, but what we should do is that we can use it before planting the maize or after planting the maize. Here is the summary of non-physiological processes which result in herbicide selectivity. Number 1, plant spray interception characteristics. Here, this is where we talk of leaf orientation, nature of plant surfaces, are they smooth or rough, upright versus horizontal leaves, presence of hairs, grasses versus broad-leaved weeds, plant age, we have talked about it, position of growing plants, of growing points, application techniques, use of directed sprays, weed wipers, formulation of herbicides, use of granulated herbicides, like the use of propanil in rice in Asia, positional selectivity or depth protection, here where we are exploiting the low water solubility of Sengo or Metrobuzin and the stomp or pendimethalin. Then, of course, timing of herbicide applications are important in wheat and soybean. Here's just an example of a question. Give a detailed account of different mechanisms of herbicide selectivity using relevant examples. But I think this question was too broad because it covered a lot of ground. It was not very specific. So this is it. I'll stop streaming. Hello, are you there?
We are here, Doc. Odo.
Okay, so what we have covered so far is the non-physiological processes which lead to herbicide selectivity. Are we clear on that one?
Yes.
So the other issue which we want to talk about is the physiological processes.
Sorry, Doc. Tokumbuluka kuteka a short break before tatanga a new section. Pfungwa dzacho dzirambe dziri fresh.
Okay. So when are you coming back?
I think it's going to 10 minutes from now. This is 1:15. I think now 1:30 tadzoka.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
Okay, thank you, Doc.
So we'll resume at 1:30.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.